Okay, this video is going to cover the 8.1 group exercise, creating Route 54 cross sections. What we're going to do first is create a new cross section design file within the job J5P3181 Data 8 folder. We're going to open up the corridors Route 54 is what we're going to do, and then we're going to create a brand new file. We're going to name it cross section or XS underscore Route 54 J5P3181. We're going to name it that, and we're going to use the seed file for the, and that's wrong too, we're going to fix that. So that's the name of the file we're going to use. So let's go create a new one. We're in our corridors Route 54 job number file. As in the previous exercise, we finished up putting our right-of-way lines in here. So we'll create a brand new file. We'll go to that seed file, and we want that MoDOT design 2D. So we'll copy that. Yes, it's read-only. We'll accept that. And I want to copy this part right here, bring it back into my manual. Control C, and make this right. And that's good. We'll do that, and I'm going to copy the name of the file I want to create. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to swipe through MoDOT. I'm going to paste in that XS underscore Route 54 underscore J5P3181, and you can see it copied it down to the file name. We're good. So we'll hit the OK button. This will create a brand new file. It will take a few moments to bring up the check-in dialog from ProjectWise. We are really hoping they fix the speed of this. Okay, there's that check-in dialog. We'll do that. And we should have a blank, brand new file to work with for our cross sections. Okay, so let's go back to our manual. Manual says what we need to do next is set up our coordinate system. So what we're going to do is we're going to attach by file, copy it from one of our other files that we have out there. So let's knock out step 3. We'll go to our workflows and change the open roads down to reality modeling. And then off on the right, we've got that coordinate system. So we're going to select it. And then in here, we're going to pick from file. So we want to take that geographic coordinate system from another file and apply it to this one. So this one doesn't have anything to it. As you can see, it's blank. So we want to go to our Data 8 folder, and I'm going to pick the corridors Route 54 because I know it's been applied to it. I'll hit the open option, and then I will pick the default and just hit OK. And you can see it applies that NAD 83 Missouri State Plain Central Zone to this file. We're finished with this dialog. We can close it. And that brings us down to step number 4. We are going to attach the design. Now this is something totally different, but it works really well. We're going to attach all the files that are required to be seen in the cross-section models. And it's easily done right now. We can reference in the corridors Route 54 J5P3181 using a next depth of 1. We've always stayed away from it. But this file, this cross-section file that we're creating in the background here, this is now called a container file. And that's what Bentley's pushing with their products. They want container files for a few other different things that we do, and one of them being this here cross-section file. We get the earthwork, totally different ballgame, and I'll talk about that in that video. But in this one, we want to go ahead and reference in that file. So we can do it by hitting the reference button, do a tools, attach. We're looking for a Data 8 folder, and we're looking for that corridors Route 54. We're creating cross sections for Route 54, so all we want to see is anything that applies to Route 54. So we'll add that to the pull down here, or the field, input field, and then we'll hit OK. Here's the dialog. When this dialog comes up, we want to change our nested depth to a 1. What this is going to do is going to bring in its file. Let's see if I can. You're going to bring in this corridor route 54 file, and you can see by the icon in ProjectWise there are other files attached. It has a set, okay, and that set, let's see if we can show references. Of course, it's taking a minute to pop up, but you can see all the files that's attached to that corridor's Route 54. So when this one comes in, it's going to go one level below that, and it's going to take all these other files that are attached to it. Now, the bigger that live nesting number is, the more files that bring in. As an example, is if you had another corridor in here that you were referencing, like this corridor's ramp 4, and that corridor has other references to it, with a nesting depth of 2, it would take whatever's attached to ramp 4 as well. So 1 is more than suffice on this. We're going to go with 1, and I just wanted to kind of explain what we were doing here. So we're going to take nesting depth of 1, we're going to hit the OK button, and you're going to see it's going to go out and it's going to give us our 1 here, corridor Route 54 option. If I hit the fit view though, you'll see that everything that is in Route 54 comes across. Our right-of-way lines have been created, terrain's out here, civil geometry, everything's being shown. Now when I'm doing live nesting, I like to use this button off to the side, this tree button, so I could see exactly what's happening. And that will let me open up. So here's my file, here's my corridor file referenced in, here's all the other files that are referenced to the corridors file. That's brought in by live nesting. Pretty sweet for cross sections. So once we've done that, let's go back to the manual, see if I've veered off too far. We want to activate our terrain, so we'll go back over there. We'll F4 it, select the terrain model, and even though it's live referenced in, live nested in, we can still set it as active. So it functions similarly, pretty similar to being attached, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and close out of the references. Back to the manual. It says zoom into Route 54. I think we're pretty close to 54. It takes up most of our screen. Now we're into a part that's totally new with the cross-section tools. And the tools have been rebuilt. They're a little more dynamic than what the other ones were. So it's a little slicker, a little nicer. So let's go through them. Creating a name boundary. It's important that you enable the 2D and 3D view by selecting the F6 key or the tool. You can hit the element selection tool, either way. Or will not create the sheet in the drawing models. The sheets may be created at a different time using the Name Boundaries Manager, which I can go over later, but what it's going to do is if you don't have that up, it's just going to create them in the background, and then you'd have to go apply them again. So it's good just to go ahead and hit the F6 key, and let's see what we got. Now that it's got its Route 54 alignment here, it's got its model out here. It uses that to create everything. And an important thing is we want to make sure that everything in this 3D view is in there that you want to see on your project. If it's missing out of this view, it's not going to show it in your cross sections. Okay, so let's go back to the manual. It says from the Open Roads modeling workflow, we'll have to change it. We were at reality modeling. We're going to go to that, and then we're going to go to Drawing Productions tab and then Name Boundary Tool. So let's do that. So Open Roads modeling, we'll change that from reality to Open Roads. Our tab needs to change to Drawing Production. So we'll go right along our tabs to the Drawing Production. And then our ribbons changed, and we're looking for the Name Boundary ribbon. Tools in here. Now, you've got Place Name Boundary and Adjust Profile Name Boundary. We're going to go with the Place Name Boundary. It is actually the default icon, so you could select it from there. And it brings up a new dialog for us. I'm going to take that civil I could draw, put it over there. Let's go back to the manual. I want to stick with it. I don't know what I'm doing here. Let's see. I want that one. Okay. So we've done that. default settings, select a place name boundary, civil cross-section icon. So we're going to use that civil cross-section icon. As you can see in the tool, there are a few of them, and we'll go over these other ones in different chapters. You have a civil plan by element, a civil profile, civil cross-sections, and that's what we're going to do. And you've got one by 2 points, and by drawing boundary, 2 points again, and a polygon. So we're going to go by civil cross-sections. That's going to be for this chapter. I kind of wish I could get it over to a spot where I can keep them both up, but it's going to be difficult. The seed file that we're going to use on this is a 10 scale. Okay, so we're going to change this to a 10 scale. Just like we did. And it says once the drawing seed is selected, the default preferences, the offsets, intervals, and clearances will be added to the dialog. Next thing it wants to do, and it's telling us in the bottom left corner, is to place name boundary civil cross section, identify a path, the path element. We're looking for that 54 out there. Okay, that's what we're going to do. Now, it says note the tool will, well, let's go ahead and pick the alignment first. So we'll go over this, pick that 54. And when we do, you can see it's wanting to start stationing. Okay, so it's got our name in here, Route 54. You can change that. That's going to be your name of your name boundary group. Let's go back and see what it's saying in here. The note will progress to picking a start station dynamically or by key in. You can move your cursor beyond the start of the alignment, blank plate, and data point in a blank area, which will apply the first station as the start station. To manually key in the station, it must be done in the place name boundary civil cross-section dialog after the start station has been accepted by a data point in a blank area of the screen. Well, that's partially true. So what you do is you come out, and if you want to start, I don't know what we're using. Let me look at the, we're going to use 610 to 630. Okay, 610 to 630 is what we're going to use. So what you need to do is you come out here in the start station. You can key in 610 plus 00. Do not forget your R2. Whoop, R2. And then you can hit the enter key and lock it in. Okay, so it's locked in at 610, which is up here a ways. And then we're going to go to 630. I believe that's what we said. Memory's failing. 630. So 630 plus 00 space R2. Got to have those regions in there. We'll hit the enter key and lock that in. Okay, so it's got the beginning and end. The next part of it is, once we get 610, we want to do a left offset of 110 and a right offset of 170. Viewing the 2D model, you can kind of see that it needs more room on the right side than it does the left side. So you can see coming through here, we're going to need some room on that right side. So what we're going to do is change that for this exercise. Let's see, 610 to 630. All right. 110 minus 110 on one side, and then 170 on the other side. You know, the sheets, you know, this one's going 280 feet across on your cross section for your 10 scale sheet. So you can use it 280 however you want by moving the left and right offsets around. The interval on this we're going to use is 100. And then there's a top and bottom clearance, and I think I've got them set up pretty good where they come across really well. But it can be modified or manipulated to change and see what you want on that if you need to tighten them up a little better. There's some definitions in the manual. Talks about include control points, which adds cross sections at the horizontal control points such as PC and PT, and that's optional. A lot of times we went in and turned those off. We're just going for even stationings on this one. So if you wanted to see all those, you just simply toggle that on. Backward facing will create boundaries with a backward facing view, and that's used in railroad, so we won't use that. Create the drawing and show dialogue is what we want. If we have create drawing set on, and then show the dialogue, give us our next option in the dialogue, will be good. But the create drawing is important so that we can create our drawing models and our sheet models. So we'll turn those on. Go back to the manual, so they're both on. Once it's been filled out, you can accept everything and read the status bar. So we're going to go down here. We're going to go ahead and go back into MicroStation. We're going to left click. It's wanting to left click. Right now you can see it's placed some shapes out there, and then if we left click again and accept one more time, it's going to go out and it's going to create or give us our shapes of this file and our shapes in the other file. You see how you get your cross-section shapes? Those represent where our cross-sections are at. Okay. It also advances us to this next dialog. You see what I say about it in this part. Okay, when you accept the dialog, you're going to have to actually give it an annotation group. Okay, so in this one, we say to do excess annotation with grid, and then we can click Open Model. So the annotation group is a pull down. You'll come in here and you'll say, I want a cross section, drawing, and you've got options in here with grid, without grid, and then you have one for end area volume, which we'll talk about when we do earthwork and end area volumes in the last chapters. So this one will go with the grid. Once you pick grid, it's going to put that on there, and then again, open model. Everything else is defaulted fine. We don't have to do anything with it. There is an option up here. It doesn't work. That you can create one sheet per DGN. It takes forever. So if you wanted one sheet in one cross-section sheet in a design file, you have that option. I wouldn't do it for this. So this will give us ones like what we had before. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. That's a feature. Like how that feature works. It pops up the last thing. You can see down here in the bottom right, it's processing. This thing was dog slow. To do that station range that I have right there in the background was about 6.5 minutes to do. But they did some work with ProjectWise, a little bit of work with the GeoPack, and they got this to go so much faster. I know it's hard for you to appreciate without seeing it, but believe me, when I was testing all this stuff and running 6-7 minutes in between each run, yeah. So what it does is it opens it up to the last. Let me go back to my. Since this open model's checked on, it will open up to the last sheet model that's placed, and you can see the cross section in the background. You can see how we adjusted it. We got more of it to the left than the right. If you wanted to center it, you can do that. Let's see where we're at. Yeah, you can see it opens up to 6. Let's see, we're at 629 on this one, and 629 down here. So it matches that sheet. See, I'm making a point here, I believe. Let's go down a little further. Yep. Okay. Let me go back over to MicroStation for a minute. Talk about this. This is a sheet model. This is what the cross sections look like in a sheet model. I can see I'm missing my border now. I don't know what somebody's done or tested or did, but they used to be here. Now I'm missing them. So that'll be something I have to look into after my video, of course. But there should be a title block and everything over here. So that's a sheet model. If I go to a drawing model, and drawing models, what everything's based off of. You create stuff in a drawing model. So here's the drawing model. This is station 611. This is what it looks like. You can always go back to your levels display and turn off. Use my filter. Use and turn off. I'll turn them both off just for grins. But you can see we've got them. Cross section been created, and you noticed it's annotated. It went out and annotated this for us. You've got your slopes out here. You got your elevation offsets. Pretty slick. And I use this down here at the bottom. I use this to navigate through my different models. Now you could use the model tool, the dialog here, and just double click on it and bring it up, and then you got it. It just takes too much space and stuff for me. For me, it's just a single click if I come down here and I want to see maybe the sheet models for 624. Click and bam, there they are. There's 624 sheet models. I'm a little blown away that there's no title block here because we had it and something happened since somebody, I don't know, I'll have to fix that or have it fixed. But that's how I navigate around through my different models, and you can go in and see and check what it's done for you. Let me go back to the manual so I keep track with it. Oh, they want to. The other thing is to get back to the view where we created and cut everything. It's called a multi-model view, and it could be located anywhere in this list. I've tried hitting different things, but it happens to be the last one here. So multi-model view will bring us back to the default and then the 3D view. And one thing I talk about, I think, in the manual here is how you've got your cross-section elements out here, and then I talk about how to use this. If you don't see them, if they don't show up, make sure your construction's on. The other thing is these are not transparent, so what you need to do is go back into your 3D model, hit the pull down for your view attributes, and turn on your transparency. And when you do, you'll see they are transparent, and you can see through those shapes. Now these shapes, you can move them, but it's not as dynamic as what I was led to believe. So if you don't like where your shapes are and you need to move them, you need to recut them. It's going to be, we'll have to remove these and put new ones down. I've moved them, like in this situation. I've learned how to move them off to the side and then rerun them. It doesn't see that shape. It still cuts the information in the wrong area. So that's another thing I've got to, an enhancement, I guess is what they call it, I'm looking for on that. So going back to the tool, that gives us a transparency, and our constructions, they show our shapes. So if constructions are turned off, you're not going to see them, but you won't see your 3D models or your corridor modeling grips either. Always on construction. Okay. So the next part of this is, let's see, viewing the cross-section models, cross-section individual, manage view group tool. And I was going through that. I kind of went through that, you know, navigating through this and showing you how that works. So that brings us to the end of the exercise on cutting cross-sections on 54. And I will have a more in-depth video out there for all the cross-section stuff, but this just follows our Chapter 8 Road 1 class.